So there's some other more advanced rigging techniques that we can look at. Some people consider a Reeve a more advanced technique. Some people do not. We've decided to put it more into the technician level of the course. We can get into situations where either because of the products that are coming out of the space, being something like an ethyl-methyl death where you don't want a lot of people around the outside of the hole, or the hole is elevated or in another hazardous type of geography where you only want a limited number of rescuers on the top of the space. We can do what's generally termed as a tripod Reeve. What we're going to build on the tripod behind me is a simple English Reeve system. We'll see it in play on the top of the space and be able to look at it in a bit more detail there. First of all, we need anchors that are in line. If we have forward or back motion underneath our tripod, we will tip the tripod over. So that is essential that we have something in line. Whether we're rigging to a tension line in order to move an anchor over on the sides or whatnot, we need those anchors in line. Second, we need swiveled pulleys, or pulleys that have a swivel on them. We're going to use the protraction pulleys here without the protraction being engaged, without the catch being engaged. And we're going to put one on one side and one on the other. Everybody that's built the Reeve system now can kind of see where we're going with the rest of this. This pulley here does not have to be a swivel pulley. It can be the one that we're placing in the middle. We're just deciding to use something a little bit different here. So we're going with a non-swivel pulley. What this now creates is your traditional English Reeve system. When tension is pulled on the rope, because you have pull on each pulley equally, you start to split down the resultants, and generally the resultant comes back in line with the load. We're cheating the resultants in, canceling some stuff out. If you want to get into the physics, take a look at some of the other classes, particularly by Richard Delaney on splitting resultants and moving resultants. But at the end of this, we're basically putting the resultant back in line with the load. Once again, if we move this forward, we can move our tripod, and that's something we don't want to do. The anchors do need to maintain in line. But as we now pull, we're pulling on a 2-to-1, so we can rig something like a 3-to-1 on the far side. We have a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage, lifting our package out of the space, and we really only need one attendant up top to maybe run a safety if you don't want to run it remotely, but generally that person's checking on the package as they're coming out of the space. So should that be a hazardous atmosphere, we only have one person on breathing air in the zone, or should that be a hazardous geographical location, we only have one person that's clipped in. So we can also look at one other way to build our tripod Reeve system. In the last video clip, we had it where we had the two singles with the single in the middle. You can also run a double pulley on this system. With this particular tripod, you're going to end up slightly off-centered, just the way the tripod is. You're going to come in and use your doubles as a single point. Some people prefer this, some people won't do this. It's basically up to user error and what you're comfortable with. With the bottom here now, you notice I have used a swivel pulley. It's better with this particular setup if you have swivels on both sides. Now, as you tighten this, you can get to the point where, if not lined up properly, you can end up with side pull on the plates of your pulley. You can see, once again, with this particular tripod, because of the leg, it is slightly creeping to the back, which is causing side pull on that pulley. It is a way to do it. We would recommend running two singles, as it is an easier and more efficient way, and it's using the products a little bit more in line with manufacturers' recommendations. Where you might want to utilize this, obviously, is if you don't have enough gear on you and you only have double pulleys. Once again, the manufacturer, for instance, Rock Exotica, does indicate you can use a single as a double. It's just not preferred. So if all you have is double pulleys here, you can still make this Reeve setup just with 2 doubles instead. So we've got the bottom side of our tripod Reeve here in the background. This allows our haul team to be on the ground here. They've rigged up a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage system using a rescue sender, a roll clip, and a Petzl ID. They have 2 haulers down here to haul it, one being out of the system or out of the picture at this point in time. Up to our high point where the load is being raised up and through the tripod. So once again, keeps the majority of our rescue team and our haulers outside of the danger zone that exists. So with the tripod Reeve, as you can see, we've rigged it much like we did in the first video segment down below. We have our 2 single swivel pulleys. We have a swivel pulley on the package. Because we're running a live load here, we've also got a safety line in play. The anchors, if you can actually see them, if you were looking above them, are off by about 1 foot, but that's not really a big deal just because of the length of rope that we have in service. So we've anchored very, very short on one side, very close to the leg of the tripod, and we've anchored very far on the other. For reference purposes, we're about 6 feet anchored on one side and about 35 feet anchored on the other. Now, up in a crowded location like this is the perfect location to run a tripod Reeve. We only have Tony up top in a danger zone, as there's fall hazards basically on 3 sides of them plus the hole in the middle. He can sit here, he can communicate back and forth with the ground team, with the team leader to ensure that the package is moving and not held up. Should this be a hazardous environment, i.e. atmosphere, Tony would be the only one on SCBA outside of the rescuers and the patient in the space. As we haul on this system, once again, we're hauling, the patient is connected to a 2-to-1, or the rescuer or your package is on a 2-to-1, being pulled on a 3-to-1, giving us a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage system, bringing that package out of the space.